Ghost of Yotei is gorgeous. The combat is phenomenal. And yes, dual-wielding katanas is incredibly fun. But as someone who loves both the game and actual samurai history, we need to talk about why this would never work in a real fight. Why the most legendary swordsman in Japanese history would disagree with you, and how he literally wrote the book on dual wielding.
Welcome to Brother Board Plays, your home for war stories and history. If you don't want to miss out on the future videos, smash that like button, hit that bell icon, and subscribe to the channel. Let's dive in.
So let's talk about the man himself, Miyamoto Musashi. Born in 1584, Musashi is arguably the most famous samurai in Japanese history. He fought over 60 duels and never lost a single one. But here's the kicker. He didn't invent dual wielding to look cool. He invented it to gain a tactical edge. Around age 21, Musashi began developing his two-sword style called Nitten Ichi Ryu, which translates to the school of the strategy of two heavens as one. But, and this is crucial, he didn't use two full-sized katanas like you see in Ghost of Yotei. He used a katana in one hand and a wakizashi, a shorter companion sword, in the other. Why the size difference? Because it actually made sense. The longer blade handled the heavy cutting and blocking, while the shorter blade was perfect for quick strikes, parries, and close quarters combat. It was about versatility, not brute force. Now, Musashi didn't just make this up on the fly. He spent decades perfecting this technique, and he didn't even use it publicly in combat until he was around 30 years old. That's 9 years of practice before he felt confident enough to use it in a real duel. And even then, some historical accounts suggest he only pulled out both swords when fighting opponents he considered less skilled. Against truly dangerous adversaries, he went back to a single katana held with both hands. Think about that. The greatest dual wielder in history knew when not to dual wield. Before Musashi, there were other schools that taught two-sword techniques, like the Tenshin Shoden Katori Shinto Ryu from 1447 and the Tatsumi Ryu from the early 1500s. But Musashi's style became the most famous because he actually proved it worked in deadly duels. He even wrote The Book of Five Rings before his death in 1645, documenting his philosophy and techniques. It's still studied today. All right. Now let's get into the physics and practicality of why dual-wielding two regular-sized katanas is a fantasy. First, the weight problem. A katana weighs about 3 pounds and is specifically designed for two-handed use. That design gives you leverage, power, and control. When you hold it single-handed, you lose all of that. Imagine trying to swing a baseball bat with one hand. Sure, you can do it, but you're not hitting any home runs. Second, the power issue. When you strike with both blades simultaneously, it's like throwing 2 punches at once in boxing. Sounds cool, right? Except you generate less power with each strike and you leave yourself completely defenseless. A single two-handed strike will always hit harder than 2 one-handed strikes combined. Third, speed is actually a myth. People think 2 swords means twice the attacks, but that's not how it works. Striking with one blade, then the other, is no faster than 2 quick consecutive strikes with a single sword. Your body still has to coordinate the movements, and 2 weapons actually slow you down because they get in each other's way. And that's the fourth problem, coordination. 2 full-length katanas will constantly interfere with each other. You'll find yourself holding one sword awkwardly out of the way just to use the other, which defeats the entire purpose. Historical sources mention that dual wielders often ended up fighting with one sword at a time anyway, making the second blade more of a backup than an active weapon. Now, could a warrior train to use 2 equal-sized swords? Technically, yes. There are historical examples. Japanese pirates called woku were depicted using 2 identical swords, and the Aizukage Ryu Densho manual shows techniques with 2 full-length katana. But these examples are incredibly rare, and for good reason. The disadvantages massively outweigh any advantages. You need an enormous amount of training, way more than learning a single sword. And it's physically exhausting. You're burning through stamina twice as fast while generating less effective attacks. It's a terrible trade-off. So if dual katanas are impractical, what should a warrior actually use? Let's talk about the weapons that dominated real battlefields. Spoiler alert, it wasn't swords at all. The weapons that actually ruled ancient and medieval warfare were polearms, spears, naginata, yari, halberds, and the bow. Even the samurai, who are legendary for their katanas, primarily fought with bows and glaives in earlier periods. And later on, they switched to spears and even firearms like the arquebus. Why? Because polearms give you range, which is the single most important advantage in combat. You can strike your opponent before they can strike you. They're also easier to learn, cheaper to produce, and easier to maintain than swords. If we're sticking to swords, a single katana held with both hands is objectively superior to dual wielding. You get more power, better leverage, and superior defense. Every advantage that matters. Want that offensive-defensive combo that dual wielding promises? Use a sword and shield. It's been proven effective across virtually every culture for thousands of years. The shield gives you protection while still allowing powerful one-handed strikes. And here's something interesting. Real historical swords were much lighter and faster than most people think. They ranged from under 1 pound for a small sword to around 8 pounds for the largest two-handed swords. Most were between 2 and 3.5 pounds. And because of leverage, the tip of a sword moves incredibly fast. Faster than a knife. Faster than dual-wielded blades flailing around. So what's cooler and more effective than dual katanas? Honestly, a master swordsman with a single blade, proper footwork, and the discipline to strike at the perfect moment. That's what actually wins fights. Look, I'm not here to ruin anyone's fun. Ghost of Yotei is an amazing game, and the dual katana combat is satisfying as hell. Games should be fun, not historically accurate documentaries. But understanding the real history makes it even more interesting. Miyamoto Musashi didn't dual wield to look badass. He did it because he spent a lifetime figuring out how to make it work with a long and short sword combo. And even he knew when to put the second blade away. The fantasy is cool, but the reality? The reality is that the greatest warriors in history knew that sometimes less is more. One perfect strike beats 2 sloppy ones every single time. If you enjoyed this deep dive, let me know what other game mechanics or historical weapons you want me to break down next. And hey, go enjoy those dual katanas in Ghost of Yotei. Just don't try it in a real sword fight.